Welcome to Tea Time with Talent Acquisition, the podcast aimed at fostering knowledge and sharing it within this vibrant talent acquisition community. Here's a little sneak peek at what's coming your way today.
I think definitely candidate experience starts with a good job posting, with a great job description. But the whole thing is to this process of application, even if you're not being selected, for me, is to be treated like a human. You might spend some more time at the beginning, your time, but then the hiring manager will spend less time, and then the hire will happen faster, just simply because you'll have to interview less people and more qualified people at the end.
The topic of candidate experience is front and center of so many talent teams, but Olga didn't just share her opinions on the topic in this podcast, but more specifically, how having a better candidate experience can in turn boost your acceptance rate, leading to fewer wasted time and resources in later stages of your processes. We talk about flipping the script for the candidate experience. We look at why we should build interest throughout the process. We look at candidate experience in the context of a global workforce and so much more. Any chance to learn from Olga, it's a true privilege, and this podcast is packed with great takeaways you can try and implement in your own teams. So let's just dive straight in together. Welcome to Tea Time with Talent Acquisition, the podcast aimed at fostering knowledge and sharing stories within the vibrant talent acquisition community. There's no surefire way to accomplish anything in life, but with each conversation, we aim to delve into diverse topics and present fresh perspectives to empower you, our fellow colleague, on your own journey to success. I am your host, Eden, and for the next hour or so, I'll be joined by an established career coach, head of people, and technical recruiter with an expensive... I'm going to start that part again. I'm your host, Eden, and for the next hour or so, I'll be joined by an established career coach, head of people, and technical recruiter with an extensive experience in nurturing positive work environments within the tech and SaaS-based industries. This individual has a deep-seated passion for personal and professional growth, specializes in crafting HR policies, fostering company cultures, and developing recruitment strategies that address unique needs. Working now with a fully remote WordPress VIP organization, he's not only crafted extensive policies and procedures, but has done so in a way that fosters inclusivity regardless of no fixed office. So when you're ready, grab your favorite tea or coffee if you prefer, and join me in welcoming today's guest, head of people with the team at Socal, Olga. So thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Eden. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really happy to be a part of this podcast. I've seen some episodes and they were all great. So thank you.
My pleasure. And we're also joined by the cat in the corner. So hopefully the cat stays there the whole time. Let's see. So, Olga, I want to start off this episode the same way I start off everyone. I have an icebreaker question, right? So, from your perspective, what is one thing that you believe everyone in our field is doing, but it could be improved?
Well, I think the answer is really on the surface, and also from seeing your conversation with some other guests that you have. I think this has a certain understanding across the field, across the recruiting, talent acquisition, that we need to be more about people, to be more humanistic, humane, right? And we are doing it, we are trying it all, each one in their own way. But I think we need to do it more, to be more people-oriented, to be more kinder to candidates, and essentially to make the candidate experience better.
Love that. Well, obviously, depending on when someone's listening to this, so this is being recorded in November 23. So I put up a post which kind of relates to this a couple of weeks back. So obviously talent acquisition has been hit hard with layoffs and redundancies, and it doesn't seem to be ending. But the post was geared towards those who are struggling to find a job now are going to be the ones that lead a change for candidate experience in the future, because they know how difficult it is, but also how poorly treated that they've been. And it's not even, just the IC recruiters and TAs. It's directors, VPs, and I think although what's happened has been awful, I hope it's going to drive a real positive change and actually create a candidate experience that's just going to only improve for everybody. So I wholeheartedly agree with that point. So the topic, obviously, what we want to go through today is talking about candidate experience, but not just, how do we go create one, but more specifically, how do we do so in such a way that in your mind actually helps boost acceptance rates for the organization? Because one thing is creating the experience, that's great, but we actually want return on investment for what we're doing. So I'm curious to kind of dive into this, but before we go through that aspect, when we talk about candidate experience, what does that mean to you?
Well, I'd say for me, it all starts with the job post that should be quite detailed, should include the important information, even if, and I can understand when the company doesn't want to disclose the compensation right away, at least the benefits, the level of the compensation, things like that should be included on top of what the team is doing and what job you will be doing. And I understand that it's easier to put at high level, or even like we all use templates for certain position, right? We are not experts in everything, but to make sure that there's some key points that are specific for this particular role. And I think we discussed that with you yesterday, that not everyone will read it very thorough, right? And you cannot do anything with that. And I think I see sometimes people putting like a special word, like if you read this word, include it in application, this is how we will know that you read it through. Well, I think it's silly. We are not school kids, right? If someone didn't read it, it's their own loss. I don't think we need to test people that way. But I think definitely candidate experience starts with a good job posting, with a great job description. But the whole thing is to this process of application, even if you're not being selected, for me, is to be treated like a human. Is to get the responses, to get responses that not 100% automated, maybe getting at least some sort of feedback why you're not being selected if you reached the later stages of a selection. Of course, if you just submit your resume and maybe answered a couple of questions or wrote a cover letter, you might not receive a feedback and understand it's fine, right? You didn't invest so much time in it, but if you've done a couple test tasks and then they just tell you, okay, this is not what we want, I think it's just polite thing to say why, right? Even when you do any sort of work at university or school, usually tell you why you don't get the best grade, what were your mistakes, so you can learn from that and improve.
Yeah.
But to answer it in a very short way, the good candidate experience is just being treated like a human, and a human that is valuable.
Yeah, 100%. And it's that valuable aspect as you put there as well, is everyone has one resource that you will never ever get back in return, and that's time. I think that's what we try to share to everybody, is that value your time, candidate, company, and create an experience that treats the other person with that same value. Why is it? I know we talk about candidate experience a lot, and it's become, I don't want to say a buzzword or fad, but all of a sudden in the last maybe 18 months, it's become the hot topic for talent acquisition. Why is it important? Why is it really important from your perspective?
I can I answer first? Why do I think it happened in the last 18 or 12 months? I think, first of all, as you mentioned, we are in the recess, right? More people getting laid off, and more people actually start to see it with their own eyes, how tiring is the process of finding a job. And we as a talent acquisition, recruiters, people teams, we are for most time on the opposite side, right? We don't see that. And we are hiring for one, or even if we're hiring for 10, 20 positions, they're different positions, not the same person applying for all of this 20, right? But when I work as a career coach, when I consult people, I see that they get extremely exhausted. They apply for many jobs, and like more than half, they don't even get any response, right? And that helped me because I think I was also somewhat oblivious about the situation that is happening, right? But people get a lot of this application fatigue, right? It's very hard to stay motivated when you applied for like 30, 40 job, and each job wants from you a cover letter where you should write how motivated you are. And then also you cannot use too much ChatGPT because it's really obvious and everyone will notice it, and that will not get you anywhere, and so on. So like looking for a job these days is like a job itself, unless you're such a rare professional that you're being hunted. But how many of us can say that about themselves?
So you think it's because there has just all of a sudden the mask has been taken off and more talent acquisition specialists have been subjected to bad processes that now it's become this big thing? It's always been there, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that our profession has always ignored it, but as you say, it's become more prominent. And a lot of the topics that people want to talk about on the podcast actually is around candidate experience, which is absolutely fine because one experience for one company isn't always going to be the same for another. And you take bits and pieces from everyone and you graft your own. So then going back to it, why should we focus on this? You know, what I know the outcome is hopefully better candidates, of course, and better return on investment and acceptance rates. But why is it really important to, regardless of the outcome, just have a good candidate experience?
Well, I think that at the end, and I think that's what's important, the good candidate experience is actually makes the time to hire shorter. Hence, it's more efficient, right? You might spend some more time at the beginning, your time, but then the hiring manager will spend less time, and then the hire will happen faster, just simply because you'll have to interview less people and more qualified people at the end, right? And then the hiring manager and you will have to go through the test task of people who are more qualified. So you can go through like a certain criteria, and you won't be. Sometimes, honestly, I know it's sad to say. Sometimes it feels like a waste of time if someone unqualified does a test task, and it's so bad. But you have to break your focus on something else, to stop and go and check it and answer and so on. So by eliminating this part, we just make it faster for the company to find a hire. And I run some numbers on a recent position that we just closed, where I try to focus very, very hard on the sourcing. And I've done the sourcing in 2 stages. And again, SoCal is a specific example. We're not very big, we're rather small, right? So
actually saying that point, if you don't mind me injecting here, where your business, and we spoke about this yesterday, where your business lies, and I think this is why your data is very important. WordPress as an industry or as an area, it is so vast with talent, too much talent in some regards, and I've experienced it hiring in this area, that you just get inundated sometimes with talent, and it's challenging for hiring teams to really pick, because everyone can write resumes to some degree. So although it's a small organization, I think your data and hopefully what you're about to share is going to be really impactful. So I'll stop talking and let you carry on now.
I can say that this might not work for everyone, right? What I'm saying, because this is more specific, I guess, to small organization, to organization where you have enough resources hiring, and also the roles that we are hiring are mid to senior. Because of the size and the type of work we get, we cannot have junior people at this moment, maybe at some point, but we just don't have enough resources to teach them, to train them to become mid, right? So it makes the hiring harder because they're much more junior, like WordPress engineers, so people who work WordPress, than mid to senior, right? So I ran the numbers, and I think that when we talk about like acceptance rate from amount of people who applied to the final decision, like the person who went to like a last pre-offer interview and the offer, I think the percentage there was the same that it would be in a standard process, right? The end result, we didn't find more candidates that would suit than we would do in a standard process. But I think what happened inside of this process on the other stages, that was more significant because I think that what I've done is I've done a 2-stage screening, and I don't think it needs to be 2 stages, just how my brain works, right? It was easier for me. So all the applications, I go through them and I leave a short feedback, and right away, some of them right away disqualified, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can see it right away. Unfortunately, it can be because of the location, because we are 100% remote, but there time zone limits that we can work with right now, because we need to collaborate in a real time, at least a couple hours per day, right? Or some people who don't have any qualifications, don't have any experience or close to non-experience in the area that we're hiring for, right? It will also be immediate disqualification for me. But then there's a bunch of applications that are not immediately disqualified, and then I read that more thorough and go through that. So I think that like more than half of the people get disqualified in this stage, and then I go to the first interview with them. And it's something that I think is very crucial, and I see less and less people doing that, because I guess it seems that it will save you time, but I think at the end it doesn't, right? Is the interview before the test task. Interview where also I get to explain the candidate what Circle does, what the job will be, who you will be working with, how much you will be paid, and so on, right? I think it's crucial that people who go for the test task should understand what are they competing for. Because I think it's very... very counterintuitive to expect people to stay motivated, right, about the job that they're applying for, when it's maybe a 40s job they applied for, and they never got any feedback really, and they submitted a lot of test tasks, and sometimes they have to wait like 4 weeks, couple months for any answer. I think it's just like natural. You can't get motivated. You have to limit how much you can give away, and you can miss good candidates by that. And on the other hand, on the interview, you can ask questions and talk with the person to understand if they're going to be a good fit for the job, and then you will not offer them to do the test task at all. Because not everyone can understand if they will enjoy working in this job. You can understand it better if they will enjoy doing it or not. And it's important, not only the technical skills, right? We're talking about the soft skills. Will they fit in this team? And something I always explain to my coaching clients, right? And because sometimes people get surprised when I ask them a question like, how do you like to work? Do you like to always be with people and have team meetings and discussions and team decisions, or you just want to do everything alone and be responsible for everything? And sometimes people are like, why you ask that? I just want to find a job. But the teams can be really different. The dynamic between the team members is very different. If you have to have everything decided as a team, discussed as a team, and you like it, you will work great in this environment. If you are more in like a so-called lone wolf, when you want to have responsibility for everything, but all decisions are yours, you will suffer in these constant meetings. You will drag it. You will hate this job in a couple of months. But a lot of people have this enough of self-reflection, even time in their life or in their career to understand it, right? And this becomes our job as talent acquisition to see that about people, to understand them, understand what they want. And I think I don't want anyone to misinterpret me. These people, this person who doesn't like to have a lot of meetings is very responsible. They can be excellent at their job, as well as the person who likes to have a lot of meetings and always have their decisions discussed. It's not any... I'm not saying that their skills are not enough or value that they will bring is not enough. It's just one person will love this company and will become very loyal team member, and another person will hate it and will secretly look for another one in 3 months.
Yeah. So you're saying we as talent acquisition specialists should take the burden of a more thorough pre-screen. We need to be the people who are advising this is the right role or this isn't the right role before the candidate progresses into any sort of task, presentation, hiring manager discussion. So we should be the person or the people who are sitting there saying yes or no at that stage, but in a very thorough manner. But I think it kind of links back to the humanizing aspect, because what you say is exactly, and maybe this is going to come across weird, I don't know. It's exactly how I believe recruitment should always have been done. Regardless of it being in 2023 or 10 years ago, it's how it should always be done. The recruiter, talent acquisition, internal or external, should always be the person, the reason to say, what do you want? Regardless of what this company or job is, what do you want? Okay, great, this matches because of this, this, and this. Or actually, this doesn't match. I don't want to waste your time. Happy to share it with you. But so why do you think TA teams or individuals are reluctant to be like that, to kind of be a bit more straight talking?
I think that we are actually witnessing, maybe in the last couple of years, more since the pandemic started and we went into remote jobs, a very, very big ground shift in the careers, right? The careers for people have been changing a lot throughout 20, 30 years. If for our parents, and I don't know if it's true for your parent, it's definitely true for my parents, for my family, like my aunts, uncles, they worked all their life or almost their life in one place.
Yeah, pretty much.
My aunt, she still works at the same organization. She started working when she was like 23.
Wow.
And she's in her mid-60s right now. She still works there. She
Hopefully
had
she's
some
going to get a good retirement package.
Let's hope. But the careers for our parents, they were like that. I'm talking as a millennial, right? So like my mother has just got retired. So it's like people who getting slowly into retirement. I think for but for our generation, it's not like that. Most of the people my age, a little bit younger, they don't stay longer than a couple of years in one job because they always can find something better. They can find better compensation. It's very big also discussion right now that like people are not able to get the same promotion salary-wise or position-wise in the same company. They have to move companies to get on a higher level, right? And of course, not everyone is ambitious. Not everyone have to be a manager. It's completely fine. I also don't think we all have to be obsessed with like, oh, I need to get this director role or VP role or suit role. That's not necessary. Someone has to do the ordinary jobs. But I think when we're talking about the technical areas, right, we're talking about IT, all the very low-level jobs are very automated now. We don't need like data input people really anymore and things like that. So all the roles that we are talking about, even if it's a product roles, management roles, technical roles, they require a certain level of creativity. Right? You need to be a creative person. And I think also surprises some people sometimes when I say that like product engineers, developers, that they're very creative. They need to be very creative. Because they need to see the solution, and there's always more than one solution to something, right? And I think for creative people, for them to be able to use their creativity, they need to be comfortable in their job. They need to like what they do. They need to feel motivated at what they do. And if you don't like your team that you work with, you won't feel motivated. Your creativity won't flourish there. So yeah,
And
you
that
might
stems
be.
all the way back from that experience you create from the very first interaction, right? And how you
Yeah,
make that person feel throughout the process, but also how you as a TA decide whether or not this is truly right for that individual or help coach them. I think our jobs are very much coaching roles. Although
yeah,
technically I work in sales. If you ask any insurance company, I technically work in sales because they love to put insurance prices up for salespeople. But we're coaches. For good and bad, we help people, but we coach them, and it's always their decision in recruitment. I can't force you to take a job, but I can
no,
coach you to say this could give you what you want long term, or absolutely it's not what you not what you want. We work with the only thing that can change its mind. Software as a service can't decide it. Oh, I don't want to work for that company. I'm going to go downtime. But a job seeker, a candidate, can go, no, not interested. So I definitely agree. It's completely on us. Oh, I've got the light in my face.
and I want to note that we should not forget that good candidate experience, it on top of making your time to hire shorter, right? It makes sure that the candidates that you didn't hire, you can come back to them and they will have a good feeling about your company, good memory. Oh, yeah, we had a nice conversation and this person treated me like a human, right?
Got the
And
biggest
they
grin on
might,
my face because I was waiting for you to say that point. It's such
yeah.
a valuable point.
And it's the network that you, as a recruiter, as a talent acquisition manager, that you want to build of the candidates that you had evaluated them, you've seen their qualities, and then later you might have a job that will be good for them.
I also have the impression, right, and maybe this is from the external recruiter and me coming out. I don't really think it matters whether or not the outcome of a job is accepted or not. Maybe that's a bit of a weird thing because I'm paid on whether or not someone accepts a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you as a potential client of mine will say, well, hang about, we want you to find people. Of course, it goes without saying, but I think how you make people feel is more important, because if I had said to you as a potential client of mine, said, look, don't offer this person because of X, Y, and Z, that saves you time in the long run because I've done my job. If I've said to a candidate, this company is not right for you, same thing. It's about stepping in the right way. But you also never know what happens in the future. So that person that you said, this company isn't right for you, you as a TA person is actually also now looking for a job. They've joined a company. They might remember you and they could make introductions for you because you've made them feel a certain way. You've valued them. You've humanized them. They might then in turn support you back. So I do believe 100% everything you're saying. It's that experience doesn't just help the company you're in today. It helps you as an individual in your career.
And I mean, it's just as simple as treating people as humans. And I don't think that you inherently owe them something, right? I sometimes, when I provide feedback for the candidates after the test task, that we didn't select them, and their positive, neutral, negative part of the feedback, always, it's quite a big list sometimes. And I always say that this is not evaluation of your professional skills, but your skills or skills that we're looking at so-called particularly. Somewhere else, you might be perfect. We are looking for particular person that we need here. And I think people also sometimes forget that like product manager is not the same job at every company. It's or even product engineer, it's very different. The responsibilities might be somewhat different. And sometimes people would answer and say, I don't think it's a fair evaluation. Can I have a second chance? And as much as I respect their ability to stand up for themselves, I think like we gave you a feedback. This is not good for us, why would you go an extra mile to adjust yourself right now or do something that you wouldn't do naturally to try to get into this job? Right? Like you can, we gave you feedback, take it or leave it. You don't have to change. Like I specifically mentioned, you don't have to change who you are or how you want to work or what you want to do. It's just like that job is not 100% what you want to do or how you want to do things. And it's very clear that everyone can learn and grow. It's the ability of each person. And I can tell you that usually the people that we get on board, that we make an offer, they also don't get everything 100% clear. There are always some negative feedback points as well. It's just a combination.
At least you're
and
giving the feedback. That's the point, is that you're providing that opportunity for that person to learn. And that's the essence of this, right? So you've got your 2-stage pre-screen. You're taking on the heavy pre-screen aspect. You're ensuring that whoever is being presented to the tech task, you feel they match the criteria. You as an organization match what they want as a position. So you've done that lifting. How many people, percentage-wise, would you say you filter out?
I think about 60, 70%.
Okay. Well, let's say 60 to make it seem less for now. So 40% are going through to the tech task, and then naturally
No, you missed the point. People who pass the screening, they go to the call with me.
Sorry, I merged them to two. Okay, so you're pre-screening 60% out, then you're having that first call. So how many of those people are you screening out?
About a half.
Okay, so 60... only 20% make it through to tech task.
25-ish, yeah, I think. A little. Okay. I've been running the numbers yesterday, and I think if we consider that people who were on a call 100%, 60% go to the test task.
Okay. So from that point, naturally people are going to get rejected from technology tasks. We can't help that, right? We can't test that point. Out of the people that pass and then get offered, do you know what your acceptance rate has been?
Something that we have done at SoCal for a long time, and I must say I didn't come up with that. I inherited the structure and I love it, that we do test tasks for each role in 2 stages. So the first stage is very short. It's just 1 hour. It's timed for 1 hour. So no one can invest more time than 1 hour in it. People can invest less time if they want, but no more than 1. Specifically that people don't invest too much time if they are not going to have higher chance to pass through, right? To limit their investment into the test task. So this 1 hour test task gives a good overview. It's quite short. It's more of an approach on different situations, different questions we ask them to answer. Of course, it has a lot of underlying tasks we see in it, right? It's not the answer to the question. We want to see how people express themselves in the written form, because we all work remotely. We talk in Slack all the time, right? How they can get to the point, how they explain themselves. We want to see the approach. We want to make sure that they can submit the task in time, right? And so on, specifically like the I guess it might be a little bit tricky, but we don't do anything. The task itself is not timed. I just look if they submit it within 1 hour.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's not an online assessment.
Yeah.
You send them a task and they'll just do it. Okay.
Yeah. There's no timer running. They should be able to time themselves as like adult people, right? And then after that, we evaluate. And after that, only about like 30% who done 40% of people who done the first test task go to the second test task. Right. So yeah,
you're filtering out a heavy amount before any final interview or before the later stages. We're down to like 15, 20 people potentially from a group of 100, if we're breaking it. Okay.
Less probably.
Yeah.
I think it's about 13%. I'm trying to remember from top of my head. Out of all the people who applied, about 13% go to the final interview. Maybe even less, like 7%. Right? And
then the ultimate, I was gonna say, the ultimate thing is acceptance rate, right? So if this in theory works, we should hopefully have a pretty high acceptance rate.
well, I think that out of, I can tell you, we had 7 people done the second test task, and we had out of, I think, 220 applicants. And we got the candidate that we liked the most. We had a final call with him, with the hiring manager together. And we not always actually do the hiring manager call. Sometimes it's just me. But I gather information from hiring manager, things I need to ask to figure out in this last call. And luckily, he accepted what we offer and joined us. So out of all that 6 candidates left, I think half of those were certainly no. And there was other half that they maybe could work if we discussed something. But since we had this candidate that was the best, we really liked him, that's it. But the whole process from the publishing the job, and I think I started processing the applications only 2 weeks after I first posted the job, or I started having interviews. So it took about like 5-6 weeks to get the final result. And considering that hiring manager was on vacation in the middle of this process, so
Pretty quick. I had in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So, but 5-6 weeks, someone would listen to that and think that's long, or some would think that's quite quick. I actually believe in the current market that's a relatively quick. That was the cat that just fell or just jumped off. I would say that's a relatively quick process at the moment. And actually, it was about 5 or 6 weeks, because I remember I spoke to you, I asked you for the support, and you wanted to trial it yourself, and you succeeded. So fair enough. So I think the next aspect is within that 5 or 6 week period, and with the hiring manager going on vacation, how are you maintaining interest? Because some candidates completely switch off, some TA teams, maybe don't interact as much. So how are you building interest throughout the entire process to hopefully get that resolution that you want?
I think that because I screened so thoroughly at the beginning, the candidates that were left, especially that were left after the interview, they were really motivated themselves. I didn't do anything specific. So what I only had to do is just to send them an email, said like, we received your test task. It might take some time. Our hiring manager is on vacation. So please don't worry if you don't receive an email for like a week. And everyone was fine with that.
So less about building interest, but being transparent of where they are.
Yeah. And I think per one-on-one conversation, the interview really helps. It helps people to see me, and I represent the company in that moment, right? And me to see the candidate, to try to understand candidate. Of course, I'm not saying that I'm such a brilliant person that I can read people like a book in like 30-45 minutes call, obviously not. But of course, I prepare for each call. I prepare the questions I want to ask, and I have in my sleeve a couple of questions that I always like to ask to understand, to get a feeling of the person, right?
Ooh. Are we allowed to hear just one of those questions from Olga's sleeve?
Of course. I mean, I don't think they're super special, but I think they can tell you a lot. And one question I always ask would be, why are you looking for a job right now? I think it's a great question. Someone is looking for a job because they got laid off and they need something ASAP because they got bills to pay, while other person is still employed but want to grow higher, right? That people have absolutely different dynamics to them. One can wait longer for the answers and pretty relaxed and choosing, and another one needs something ASAP. And, you know, they say like beggars can't be choosers, which I don't think is fair, but that's a saying. And I really like to ask people about their last, my apologies, about the last job, either where they are now or where they've been last, what they liked and what they hated about the job the most.
Oh, you asked what they hated.
Yeah, I mean, of course, look, first of all, no one wants to hear people talking bad about their previous job, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
So, this is a great point. If people say not going right away to shit talking the previous employee, but find something to say, I think it's great, right? And it can be fair enough. Like
point.
I didn't have enough opportunity to grow. I think I learned what I can learn. I want to grow in different area. I want to earn more money. My team changed, or simple things like that. There are a lot of reasons.
Because I asked the same sort of question. I say, what would you improve? But then that's almost giving them a way to be positive. I want to improve my knowledge. I want to, you know, so and so. But by saying, what did you hate? It can really showcase someone's true colors. Because you're saying, if they start going, well, I hated my boss, and then just go on a tangent as to why, that's interesting. I'm gonna trial it. I'm gonna see what comes out of this.
To be fair, no one said that they hated your boss, but I think a couple of times I came across of candidates that started really shit talking about their previous job, and like, okay, red flag.
Exactly. You're giving them a way to give you a red flag, and it's, again, I'm just trying to think. It's the first time you've told me this, so I'm thinking in my mind, one, it shows a good communicator. If they can navigate quite a negative question, hate is a negative word, in a positive light. It shows how they're going to treat you as an organization, potentially post-leaving, if they're not bad-mouthing you. And I think it also shows like self-reflection as to why really you disliked that opportunity. Or if someone says, oh, I didn't hate it, it was just because of this, then, same thing. But it's a really interesting question to try and navigate, because it holds such a negative tone of the word hate.
But it's the same time you ask, like, what do you like? Do you like the most and hate the most? So it's like in the one question. So you also get the opportunity to say a lot of good things about the company, right?
Definitely. I'm going to try it and see what. I'll let you know. I'll see what reaction I get.
Some people get really puzzled by this question. And another thing that we always do at Sakal, again, that's not my invention or anything. I inherited it. I learned it from our CEO. I like to ask at the end always about what people's hobbies, what do they like to do outside of work, who they are outside of work. And I just love how very often, like, people faces light up when they start talking about what they're really passionate about. They will be all serious, tough questions, like thinking about this job, and then they got to talk about what they like. And I think this is also very important. When I love when people answer that honestly. And I don't think that there any hobby, unless there's something really, I guess, dark, that anyone would judge. But I love when people say, oh, I love to spend time with my family, or I love to spend time with my dog, or even if they are gamers and they like to play game, and then you ask, okay, what you playing? And they try to explain it to you because it's this really great, interesting game, and they love it.
I did a podcast with a guy called Mirko. He works for a company called Giant Swarm. Episode 8, Series 1, if anyone wants to listen. Not in the podcast, but we've spoken before, and he mentions something called the Joe Factor. And I tell this to everybody as much as I can, because I absolutely love it. So the Joe Factor is essentially what you've just said there, but it's what makes you, you. What are your unique traits? Your job is part of you. your personal circumstances another part of you, but it's your hobbies which really helps embody all of that together. And the example he gave me was, think about logically, how many software engineers, say a front-end developer, for example, live in Berlin that have X amount of children, pets, or whatever, that are keen gardeners, that are also avid book readers or play the ukulele, right? Whatever you want to do. I mean, your hobbies of that. And that's your Joe factor. And it doesn't matter that there's no correlation between your hobbies of playing the ukulele and gardening. If you garden in Berlin, then hats off to you. It's not very garden friendly. But the aspect is that there's elements in each hobby that you can take that will help bring into any job. For example, gardening, patience. To get a cucumber to grow correctly, it takes patience. Trust me, I know. I'm not a gardener. So it's little bits like that that create you as a Joe factor. And it's called Joe factor ultimately because the person who created it was called Joe. And then it just stuck. So it's that what makes Olga, Olga, what makes Eden, Eden, and it's what makes you, you. So I love that.
And
With gone. So Karen.
sorry, you were just talking about it in this part of the conversation. I think it's really aligns with what I said, that like we have this like a grand change in the jobs happening in the last like 20 years, because we are no longer want to accept that job is what defines us. We have all different definitions, different roles that we play throughout the life, and we have a big lives outside of job, and this is what goes life work balance, right? We go to work, but we are so much more outside of work. And at SoCal, when we hire people, we want them to keep all of their outside of job factors. And I know there's still like a lot of these companies that welcome overtime and want people pretty much leave there, right? But I don't think that in the IT in sphere, this is a very common thing. Also, especially because I think very low technical job, very job that can be automated, they will be automated or already automated, right? Because we need people with the creativity. You can't unleash your creativity. You can't use your creativity if all you do is just work, because creativity doesn't work like that. Creativity doesn't work when you say, okay, work now. You need to create space for it in your mental space.
100%. I've got one final question for you. So I appreciate, first of all, you taking the time and going through this. There's a lot to unpack with candidate experience, because, as you say, each company has their own method, but it's not just one size fits all. It's all those interactions, transparency that create an experience unique. And obviously it's working for you and your team because your acceptance rates are high. So one question to wrap it all up: what would you say that the standout learn has been for you and the team, because you're a fully remote organization, around creating a unified global candidate experience?
Just be open for the candidate. The good candidate can come from anywhere. And I think this is great knowledge. And, I mentioned that our generation usually stays in the job for a very short time, but I myself work against that. I've been at SoCal for more than 7 years, so it's quite some time. I changed different roles, and I started in 2016 there, already completely remotely, working with people who've been working remotely. And it just opens your world. And for me, for the 7 years, it's such a normal experience. I don't think I will ever be ready to go back to the office fully, or not working with a global team, right? And again, your professional self, I don't think it's very different across the global environment. But then your personal self, your life, your hobbies, those things are quite different, but it makes it more interesting. It makes our social calls more interesting, or our team retreats more interesting. It enriches us, makes like a more global view on on live. I think it's just more fun, let's say.
So just be mindful that there's not necessarily an adjustment that needs to be made in that experience that you create. Just be open-minded that you're going to see some interesting, unique people, and just be ready to have those chats.
Yeah, today morning preparing for this podcast, I've been watching your podcast on diversity, on diverse teams.
Yes, I saw the comment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anna, I guess that's my memory. Episode 4, 5, series 1, humanizing diversity or humanizing the process. 100%.
So I think remote teams, it's like a lot about that we do not search someone diverse or against to meet our team, but we just welcome more different people in our team because it makes our team richer and stronger. And again, coming back to creativity, it brings new ways of creativity, not only because this person coming from a different backgrounds, different culture, and they can have a different views. They just look from a little bit different angle. Even if we're talking about technology, it makes the rest of the team also adopt that view, see that view, and make their more creative, they're more open-minded.
Yeah, I loved how Ola explained diversity to me, and I've changed completely how I talk to people about this now. Because it always used to be everyone speak about diversity hiring, and again, if anyone hasn't listened to it, her aspect is you shouldn't look for a diverse hire because then you're saying there's a norm, and you're saying that people don't fit into the norm. Instead, it's about hiring a diverse group of people. And since that episode has aired, I've coached VPs, CEOs, heads of for D&I around the topic who are, are very, very experienced individuals and completely changed their vocabulary around it. And once we change the vocabulary and make that the new norm, then that's when we can really start creating impact around diversity, because then it doesn't matter what you look like, what your background is, we accept everybody. Love it. Thank you so much, Olga, for taking the time today. I really do appreciate you sharing your thoughts, your insights, and hopefully, like I said, what we've gone through, despite there being a lot of different aspects to uncover, people can listen to this and really kind of pinpoint certain components that they can hopefully help improve themselves, their teams, their process, and ultimately the candidate experience for everybody. And I do firmly believe that maybe not this year in 2023, because we're in November, but I firmly believe in 24, 25 plus, we are going to see a process across the board that is going to look so different to what we have today. I truly believe it, because I think it needs to happen, for one, but also, like I said, linking back to the beginning, TAs that are suffering at the moment are going to be in a position where they can make that change, and that's where we're going to go for. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Eden.